The Pennsylvania state legislature has decided to hold a meeting to talk about the supposed irregularities and issues with voting. Now, when they say voting, they mean mail-in voting. And, what's interesting is they recorded this segment, and I guess it was available to the public, and Donald Trump reposted it on his Donald J. Trump YouTube page, and he titled it, "Crowd gasped after learning a spike of votes in PA has only 600,000 votes for Biden and only 3,200 for Trump." Now, I want you to listen to the context of what's being said here and the idiotic logic that is being used to try to say that this election was stolen from Trump, when in fact it wasn't. And listen to how these people have convinced themselves that they're right about the election being stolen, when in reality there is no proof of it whatsoever. So let's roll this clip.
Very beginning of the chart where there's a circle, it says on election day. What that indicates is there is a spike in loaded votes, 337,000 plus or minus of some votes that were added in there in one big batch. So that was an anomaly in the reporting. Normally you would expect to see a smooth curve going up, not any big spikes. That's kind of what Greg was talking about, the anomalies of loading and uploading those votes. So that big spike that occurs there is a prime indicator of fraudulent voting.
And that's 604,000 votes in 90 minutes, is that right?
Correct. This is 337 votes, 337,000 votes in that
period of time.
Yes.
And when you look at this entire curve with all these spikes, can you calculate how much of a vote that accounted for Biden and how much for Trump?
Close to 600,000. I think our figures were about 570 some odd thousand that all those spikes represent over time.
For Biden?
Correct.
And how much for Trump?
I think it was a little over 3,200.
Oh my God, listen to the Republican legislator of Pennsylvania gasping about how their favorite candidate didn't win the election. You know what, guys? This is getting more and more ridiculous by the day. By the way, I'm from Philadelphia. So Pennsylvania is my home state. Just wanted to throw that out there. So, they're saying that, this is an election irregularity because comparing it to past elections, there should be a steady climb in votes. But there was a spike of votes here for Biden, where Biden won nearly 600,000 votes, and Trump only won 3,200. So if you hear that information by itself, it sounds like, oh my God, how is there a spike in voting? There must have been fraud. What they did was they left out the information that about 80% of the votes that were done in person before mail-in voting in the state of Pennsylvania actually went to Donald Trump. So they said there was a, quote, Biden spike. But they didn't talk about the Trump spike at the beginning because all the ballots that went to Trump, which was in person, went first. As you know, Democrats are much more likely to vote by mail and Republicans are less likely. You know why? Because Donald Trump told them not to vote by mail. And so did their local government officials, and so did people in Congress. They said mail-in voting is dangerous, it's fraud, your vote won't be counted, don't vote by mail. Whereas in Pennsylvania, all the Democrats voted by mail almost and voted absentee. There was just a small percentage who voted in person on election day. Matter of fact, I live right near a poll, and every year when I go to vote at the poll, there's a line around the corner. There was no line. You know why? Because most people had already voted in person. So they're trying to act like, all of a sudden there was a spike and, within 90 minutes, 300,000 votes have been counted for Biden and nothing for Trump. This is shocking. This is fraud. And that's why we need to reconsider this election. That's why we should just give it to Trump. Yay, dictatorship. I mean, democracy. And you see these people, the shocking thing about it is they've convinced themselves that this is true, even though they know it's not. The Pennsylvania state legislator is directly involved with the voting process in the state of Pennsylvania. So a lot of these people, they know how the election was conducted. They know that there was no mass voter fraud, and they know that Trump lost, and he's not going to win. And that's the bottom line. But you know what? They don't care. They're going to try to cheat anyway, and they're going to lie not only to the American people, they've lied to themselves. They've convinced themselves that there is voter fraud, and somehow Trump has been robbed, and somehow Trump can still win the election. And you know, the delusionalness of this, like, it's a very simple concept. Trump voters voted in person. Trump was winning big. Mail-in ballots in Pennsylvania are counted last. They're not counted first like in some other states. In Pennsylvania, the mail-in ballots and the absentees and military ballots are the last things to be counted. Mail-in ballots overwhelmingly were Democrat. They've done polls on this. There's research. Overwhelmingly Democrat. So, of course, most of the votes went to Joe Biden. Not only did most of the votes go to Joe Biden, a lot of people voted who otherwise would not have voted because they would not have come out physically to the polls. So a lot of people, they were able to register to vote online or at home, or a lot of registered voters who normally wouldn't go out decided to vote this year, and they voted by mail. So this is just ridiculous. You know, as a resident of Pennsylvania, as a citizen of Philadelphia, I'm calling out the legislative branch to do the right thing. Stop supporting Trump. Stop with these fake hearings. This is an attempt. Stop participating in this coup that's being attempted by Donald Trump and his party. You know, even though, you know, they kind of did a little fake concession thing like, oh, we're going to cooperate with Joe Biden. He's not conceded. The media is saying he's conceded. He's not conceded. He's still saying he won the election. So, yes, please, everybody, just please realize, right, that this is an attempted coup. Now, anyway, back to the Pennsylvania state legislature. I'm calling on the people who represent me in the state of Pennsylvania to do the right fucking thing. Stop lying about the election results. Stop lying and saying that there is voter fraud or cause for concern. There is no voter fraud. There is no cause for concern. We've done investigations. We've done recounts. Everything across the country has been done. The FBI, the CIA have said this is the safest and most secure election in American history. So why don't you quit the games? Do the right thing. The people in your state have spoken. Why don't you represent the people in your state? Your job is to represent us, not Donald Trump. Or is it? Because nowadays all government does is represent their own interest. So you know what? I guess you guys are doing your job.